Okay, the Mechaber said in Halacha Tes that if you have a chazozis, this scab on the upper part of the esrog, the question what chotem was, Mishna Berura cited, that's what folks were showing what it is. Is it when it starts slanting upward, or it's only the very top? So we're machmir that it's not what's on the very top. When it starts slanting upward, that is the nodule. That's considered the chotem. Yesh omrim hode b'shnayim shloshim komas pasul. We said that if it's on 2 or 3 spots, it's pasul. You have the scab. Okay. Hainu davkish nispashir hanibo berubo. Avabisha b'shetach hachabarburos hu miut. Av miuta ukon shekulam mitzarechot shel esher kosher. But we had a question. It says if it's on 2 or 3 spots on the esrog, not even if it's not on the upper part, it's possible. So the question is it on all sides of the esrog, or it's on one side of the esrog? Right? That's the question. Hainu dav shpach nibo berubo, af bishash b'shetach haburas hu miut. Av miuto kagon shekula mitzad echot shel esrog kosher. V'ishpos not feel b'miuto shel echot al tzad echot. I'm not sure what he means. But the second, I understand what he means. Let's see the Mishna Berura. Yod shebshetach haburos pirush shebmoka haburos atzman hi amiut. I think what he means that let's say you have the scab on the one side of the esrog, and the amount of area it covers is not the majority of the side that you have the scab. Okay? So in terms of, however, it's scattered over the majority of the surface of the esrog. You understand? Let's say it would be only on one side. You'd have 3 scabs. That means so the majority of the surface of the esrog is not really blemished with scabs. So even though the scab itself, but let's say you have it 2, 3, and it covers all 3 sides of the all the sides of the esrog. So even though surface-wise it's what? It's a minority, but every side of the esrog is affected by scabs. That's the majority of the surface. Not the majority of the surface is covered, but every side of the esrog is considered blemished with a scab. That's the question. No, not talking top. No, we're talking about below the top nodule. Top nodule, even a small scab. So that's what we're discussing now. No, we said if it's one scab, it has to be the majority, right? If it's one, no, you don't remember. Okay, we said you got to review, right? You got to review a few times. If it's one continuous covering, if it's not the majority, it's kosher. Okay, that's what it said. Now we're talking about. It's because it looks spotted. It's because of the number. You see, you have 3 of them. The 3 do not cover the majority of the surface. But in terms of surfaces of the esrog, every side is affected. Does it mean even on one side, or all sides have to be affected? So if it will be on one side, the other sides are clean, it's not a problem. Okay? So we have 2 opinions. Shemok chaburas be'atzim hu amiyut. Shkulam mitzad echod. Mashdim dispashid miyim gam letzad hasheni. Mikarubo. Tavirov hekefo means the majority of the sides of the esrog. Let's say it would be 2/3 of the esrog are covered. Meaning, you have one side is clean, but two of the 3 sides are covered. Aval bishein rubo shel kol esrog. Afilu b'miuto halvush ve'liyuraba poskruk de rishono. They rule like the first opinion, which is the more lenient opinion. Chem mashkam pri megodim. Shein posel al chispashid beruo miu mispashi gam letzad hasheni shel esrog. Okay. Put it this way. You're not going to buy an esrog that it's all scabbed. Yud Aleph. Im hu mechzor al mechzor b'mokom echod. Yesh machshirin, yesh poslim. It says if 50% of the esrog has a scab on it, exactly 50. There's a question whether. So now the question is, does that include the nodule on top? We said the chotem, even if it has a small scab, it's posel. So it doesn't mean 50% of the whole esrog, right? That Mishna Berura is going to point out. Right? It can't include the what we call the chotem, the upper part where you have the pitim in that area. Okay? Doesn't mean from the very top until the ukitz, it's covered with a scab. Why? We said earlier that if you have the scab on the nodule, it invalidates it, even to a small degree. Here, speaking about the 50% is the where it's wider, not including the nodule. And is it possible to have exactly 50%? The Gemara says there's a question, it may be slightly more. He says, what about if you measure it? You measure it, you see it's exactly 50%. I mean, if we're saying the whole discussion is, could you be that exacting? So you can be exact. Measure it. He says, the question is, when you have something 50% covered, you look at it, what does it look like? It looks, that's the argument. When you look at it, it may look like majority. Well, no, when it's 50%, you see it as 50%. That's the argument. We say if it's more than 50%, it detracts from the hodor of the esrog. It's the majority. But factually, it's 50%. The answer is because when you look at it, it looks like more than 50%. But it's the way it's perceived. The way it's perceived. If it's exactly 50%, it's not a problem. We will efshel tzamse b'dei yodam. There's an argument that if you have mechza omeid mechza porutz regarding an eruv, 50% of the wall stands, 50% is breached. We hold la halacha, it's valid. If it's porutz murval omeid, the breach is greater than what stands, then it's not considered an enclosure, right? If it's more, it's breached than stands. You don't have a tzuras pesach. But if it's mechza, 50% stand, 50% breach, so the Rishonim ask a question. If you have two animals being born simultaneously, right? We rule halacha that each one's a safek b'chor, and that the first issue of the calf to be the mother, the first of their offspring. Each one's a safek b'chor. Even though visually, when they were born, they were born simultaneously. So we see it's not determined by what it seems to be, it has to be factually. Which one opened the womb? And since it can't be determined, so we say each one's a safek, because we're not sure which one came out first, right? They were born, even though perception-wise it seems they're born simultaneously, but factually there's no such thing as simultaneous. Therefore, only one is, and we don't know which one, so each one's a safek. But because there you can't measure it. That's after fact. If I have a wall that stands 50%, 50% is breached. Now I measure and I see it's exactly 50%. That's called efshel tzamsim b'dei yodam. And that's what we're dealing with over here. You can measure it. Just measure the esrog. Exactly. But again, we say it's irrelevant, because when you look at it, what does it look like? Does it look like 50%? Does it look like majority? And if it seems to be that it's more than 50% in terms of the way it's perceived, it's a problem. That detracts from the hodor of the esrog. Okay. Yud Beis. Michotmo-Vayeilech, from the nodule, going beyond, from where it begins slanting until the pitum. Right, that's the nodule. Posul chazozis. The scab invalidates it, because we said, because when you look at the esrog, what do you notice first? You notice the tip, right? And because that's the first thing noticed, even to a small degree, it's invalidated. Chol shinui mareh b'chol shu. What if it's not a scab? You just have a spot there. Also, according to the first opinion, it invalidates the esrog. Yesh omrim, yesh mi she'omer duadin diyovish posel shom b'chol shu. No. This is on the nodule. A skid, we're equating the spot to the nodule, to the scab. It's the same. A scab pot is the exact same thing.
You said you just have one scab.
On the nodule. That invalidates it.
It's only about how it looks then.
It detracts from the heater.
So then why wouldn't you break off the pitum? You'll break it up.
Not the pitum. This is the actual esrog.
I understand why they only walk off the pitum. And that just looks like the profile of an esrog. That's still allowed unless you put people to it.
No. You're mixing up, milchiks, fleishiks, and parfir all together. You have milchiks, fleishiks, and parf. They're all mixed up.
That's all about how it looks. Why wouldn't that be?
Because if you remember the basis for the whole discussion, then you understand why it has no relevance. What was the basis for the discussion? Right? One opinion was that the profile of the esrog is not the pitum. It's the fruit itself. Therefore, if you pull it out from its root, there it becomes choser. Because you tear out part of the flesh of the esrog. Because the stem is like a stem in an apple. That's not the fruit. The profile is the esrog. That's the most lenient opinion. The other opinion was that if you break it off at the top, it's not a problem. Because the only reason is because of choser. It's not choser. The other opinion was that if you have the stem coming up, even to a small degree, even if the head, the nodule, it's not a problem because it still has the profile. Anything that comes up, that's still the profile of the esrog. Okay, that was the whole discussion here. Now let's discuss something. Here we're talking about a hodor. Hodor. There we're talking about choser. They were talking about the esrog is missing. Part of the esrog is not there. Here the full esrog is intact. This detracts from the beauty of the esrog. So because it's on the nodule, that's what's most obviously seen to the person. So even a spot, even a small scab invalidates the esrog because that detracts from its beauty. That's what we're discussing over here.
But wasn't choser also detracting of it?
No, not necessarily. No, not at all.
It's the most obvious detraction of it.
We discussed the case where you have berries. Although you have berries on a hadas, red berries or black berries. So what's the halacha? It's not valid. Why? Because it's spotted. It detracts from the hodor. What about if you pick off the berries? It's valid. So no, it is the halacha. It is valid. It's valid. It's a valid hadas. Why? But before it was lacking because you corrected it. So we discussed it's over there. It's not considered choser, right? As long as it retains its profile as a hadas, it's a hadas.
If that doesn't work, then you can't pick a scab off.
No, if you pick a scab off, you're going to take off. No, because you take part of the flesh off. The scab is attached. Certain scabs you could peel off. You could peel them off. Most you can't. If you peel it off, you're not going to remove part of the esrog. There's a whole discussion. I mean, what exactly is glat kosher? Right? Glat kosher. Svardim, it's called glat beis Yosef. You pay about $3 more a pound for glat beis Yosef. Why? Because glat means the lung is smooth. There's not even the question. The glat that Ashkenazim eat, what we call glat, what exactly is the problem? The only internal organ they check is the lung. Now, the lung, very often, there's always mucus on the outer part of the lung. But sometimes you could have, it's like an adhesion of skin it's like attached to the lung. I mean, you could pull it. Now the question is, that mucus which turned into an adhesion, is that a plug to a hole? I mean, there was a perforation, and it was actually, and it scabbed over, and what extends from it, and what you could hold on to and pull. That's a plug. Or do we say no? It's just an adhesion. But underneath there is no hole. So how do they determine the difference? And this is the leniency. This is why, according to Beis Yosef, it's not acceptable. That if you're able to peel it off and the undersurface is smooth, that's still called glut. But if you peel it off and still, even after peeling it, it remains like it's not smooth under when you peel it off, that's an indication that there was a perforation there. And therefore, it's a plug. And therefore, it's a question of maybe a treifa. According to Beis Yosef, means glut means there was never a question asked. Never a question that you have to determine whether it's kosher or not, that you have to undergo any procedure to confirm that it is or not. That's glut Beis Yosef. That's called halak, smooth. No, the difference is, even when you peel it, there are different degrees of peeling. What remains underneath? What you find afterwards. No peeling, no.
But the Ashkenaz would peel it.
Peel, right, exactly.
So the Beis Yosef's even more strict.
Much more strict. Right, exactly. Literally means it's unquestioned. I mean, the Gemara says that one of the Tanoim, he would never eat from an animal if there was ever a question that you had to rule on the animal. It had to be absolutely kosher with that. There was never a question. If there was ever a question of ruling, had to be he wouldn't eat from that animal. The Gemara says it's first parak in Chulin.
Is there a difference, because I heard the term Beis Yosef shchita?
No, that's Beis Yosef. That's what it means. It means that. Doesn't mean the shchita itself. It means the checking of the lung.
Aren't there also many Ashkenazim in Israel who won't eat Beis Yosef?
That's for some other, maybe it's political or whatever it is. I'm not sure.
But
That's because they don't rely on the organization that oversees that procedure, the process. That's why. But in the United States, no Ashkenazi will not eat the Beis Yosef that you have here in the States.
So between Ashkenazi glut and Ashkenazi not glut, that was checked.
That's why today, as time goes on, see, at one time, people didn't have the means even to purchase meat. So therefore, the various leniencies they rely on to make it glut, they never relied on those leniencies. As the demand became greater, so they bend over backwards, they expand what glut really is. At one time, they never had to rely on that, because there wasn't such a demand for meat. There was a case where, based on percentages, sweetbreads. Okay, who's in the caterer? The caterers here, right? That's thyroid. Just thymus. Okay, thymus. Same thing, just as appetizing. Okay, thymus. So, do you know if you have a wedding of 1,000 people and you serve it, sweetbreads, you know how many animals you have to slaughter? So they figured out there's not enough percentage-wise, and there's a glut wedding. And if you have a few weddings the same night, and it used to be that was on the menu, you don't have enough glut animals to have sufficient to provide for so many thousands of people at a wedding. So evidently there is a problem. There is a problem. Something doesn't add up. To be continued. Chizio? I think it was Chiniv Mendoza or Pinchas Ben Yor. Not Chizio. Yecheskel Anovi. Yecheskel Anovi. That's the Gemara, first parak in Chulin.
Would you suggest thinking that when meat was less available, that there were fewer leniencies allowed?
When there was less of a demand, people, the slaughterhouse, the shochtim, didn't rely on leniencies. They didn't have to rely on leniencies. Not that many people. I'll give you, years ago, in the early 70s in Baltimore, they had their own shechita. The religious community wasn't that large. So you were able to get real glut without a problem. No problem. Real glut.
So
Because the demand, every slaughterhouse is a non-Jewish slaughterhouse. So that goes to non-kosher. It doesn't make a difference. That's the way it's done. Glut means smooth. Chalak means smooth. Right? Yaakov was called Ish Chalak. He was a smooth-skinned. It's not the ultimate clot. What we call the ultimate clot. It's not.
Can it still be kosher?
Could be.
Trap them, if nobody bothers.
But it's quite whatever.
But I thought in the old days that's what they did. They actually, because it was so expensive, they went and they blew up the wall.
All days when it was live, they didn't check.